lot going for Florida Mayhem here as they go on the attack. Shanghai Dragons will go ahead and win that attack round. Zebasai firing from on high. Roshan back on the point right now. That's nice. Dia does get another one. There's one more. But Tavik says, no problem, man. I got the barrage. Gets a couple there, and Logic's with the cleanup.
It's all about red and yellow for our second match of the day. Welcome back to the Blizzard Arena. I'm your host, Chris Puckett, and I am joined at the desk. We got the full squad with us. Zoe is back, our insider, alongside Sideshow and Reinforce. And Zoe, you just got a chance to talk to Fleta, who could be the league MVP once this is all said and done.
Yeah, I think he has great potential to be just that. But generally, I really want to give a shout out to the Boston Uprising. I love what we saw out of them. I loved that they actually gave the Seoul Dynasty a run for the money.
Let's catch everyone up at home. If you missed our first match, here's how it went down. It was Seoul Dynasty taking the first battle 4-0. They are now sitting atop of our leaderboard with a 4-0 match count. Boston in the middle of the pack, currently sitting at 1-2. But our next match, it's going to be between two teams looking for their first victory before we get to see the Dallas Fuel going up against the London Spitfire. A jam-packed day, and it's time to keep this party moving. Let's go ahead and introduce our third team to the stage for the day. Give it up for the Shanghai Dragons. The Dragons coming out, and it's all high fives. These guys have had a tough time, though. They fell to Houston earlier in the week, but even in that loss, we were able to see the squad starting to adapt.
Yeah, it was so much fun to see Undead coming alive against the San Francisco Shock. He was able to pick up the McCree and the Widow on a high level for his team, and that allowed Dia to really go off on those projectile heroes. I hope we're going to see that again today.
So actually, let's talk a little bit about the troubles they had against Houston. We know they've been practicing 10:30 a.m. all the way to the end of the day, every single day. But they still had some issues in their last battle.
They did. They had some issues with their tank synergy, I think, and how they were being supported from their backline. So these are the kind of issues that I think they'll be focusing on and looking to improve on. They know what the issues are. It's just a matter of improving as the season goes on, I think.
And as we look at the starting lineup here, Johnny, it seems that Shanghai is bringing in something new today. They've been switching up the tank role.
They're changing things up, as Sideshow just said. They have some synergy issues with the tank front line, and now they're swapping it up. So they don't have Roshan on the field for this game right here, which is a big question mark because they removed their only main tank. Yep. Put in two off tanks. So are we going to see some Diva Roadhog type of composition? Maybe some Orisa on Dorado here, utilize high grounds?
And it's Dorado as well. It's not Junkertown where you would expect that to happen.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Even stranger.
So we're a bit confused mildly by this squad fielded here. So
excited.
Yeah, excited.
Talking to their management, they said they're still trying to figure things out today. Keep your eyes on MG and Shishu, the two tanks who are working together, as Roshan is on the bench, at least for game number 1. Let's find out, though, who they will be playing against. It's the smallest lineup in the Overwatch League. Give it up for the Florida Mayhem. I love it. Swoosh leading the pony ride to the stage. These guys are coming in at 0-3 as well after falling to the London Spitfire. They dropped to the Boston Uprising and eventually to the Seoul Dynasty.
Yeah, but I have to say, their game against Seoul was actually really strong. I loved what we saw out of Twig on the second map on Horizon. You really showed up on that stuff. I love it. I love the confidence. I love the fun those guys are having on this stage. They are eager to get their first win, and as I said, against the Seoul, they really stepped it up. Twig on the Sombra did so much work for them. And also, I think their defense round on Eichenwalde was very impressive.
And they're coming in with a whole lot of team chemistry. You saw this. They've been working on that cohesion.
Yes, and Logix has woken up. I think it's worth mentioning. Logix has really woken up on LAN. He was questionable on LAN before. He brought the game online, but couldn't really show up when it mattered in the tournaments. But finally, he has woken up. He made some plays last game versus Seoul, of course. So maybe if they can keep up the momentum, they can be a bit more clutch and maybe take some maps.
Well, Logix has woken up, but he's moved away from the role that we normally think of him as, which is the Tracer. He was playing much more Soldier 76, much more McCree, Widowmaker. This team is changing before our eyes. Previously, quite a one-dimensional dive team. Now they're experimenting a lot more, and I think as the meta shifts away from having carry Tracers, Logix has to find his new place in the team and has started to adapt by bringing out the other hit scan heroes.
We've highlighted the issue issues on the supports. Keep your eyes on Zebosai and Zuppe today. Can they keep their Mercy alive? Can they avoid doubling up on using those support ultimates? A key to the victory for Florida Mayhem today. But let's start here talking about Shanghai. How important is this match for the Shanghai Dragons, Zoe?
Very. This is their 4th out of 10 matches in Stage 1. Only 3 teams will actually get to the Stage 1 playoffs, and they're kind of running out of time. They need this victory. Of course, the same goes also for the Florida Mayhem. However, Shanghai, they are working really, really hard. Them and their whole coaching staff are doing everything they can, and I do think they have a chance on getting their first win here.
Do you think they can pull it off with the map side show? You were looking at all of the maps that are going to be playing today. How do you think Shanghai compares to Florida Mayhem in our first 2?
So these are good maps for Florida Mayhem, but there's a real chance here that the star power coming out of the Widowmakers in particular from Shanghai Dragons, whoever happens to be playing that, because both Dia and Undead are also 2 great Widowmakers. But Dorado, Anubis, you can really get a lot of value, Ilios as well, huge value out of these big Widowmaker plays. So the key to victory here for me is if Shanghai, either Undead or Dia, have big performances on that Widowmaker.
Yes, and a question mark, how will then Florida deal with the Widowmaker coming out of Dia? Will we see more of the dive composition, which Florida may have flourished with in Contender Season 1? Will we see Twix pick up the Widowmaker, or maybe Logix, who both of them has played the Widowmaker? It's going to be a question mark. Will they run the dive composition? I certainly hope to see Twix Genji.
If you're managing the team, Johnny, what would you tell them to play against Shanghai?
Well, I would like to see the dive composition, which they've won with so many times in the past, but they haven't really been able to adapt to the new meta.
Bring back the dive. Well, Dorado's a good map to do it. We'll see if they can get it done. We're kicking things off. It's the Shanghai Dragons taking on the Florida Mayhem, and here to bring you all the action for our match number 2, it's Semmler with Hex.
Thank you so much, my favorite human being, Puckett. So, this is it. This is it. We are now going to be seeing the match between Florida, between Shanghai. Both of these are 0-3. There's a lot on the line. Hex, I mean, already. We get to cast this match. This is going to be fun.
You know what? I'm actually looking forward to it. A lot of people are like, oh, wow, these 2 teams have to play against each other. I'm like, it's going to be awesome. One of these teams has to win, and I've been saying kind of behind the scenes, and I'll say it publicly now, I think Shanghai has a decent chance on this map, mostly because of the map pool. The desk hit on it. I think this map pool is so good for Widowmaker, and I think Dia is the best Widow of these 12 players on stage.
This is going to be it, exactly. It was touched on in the desk. You know, how can Mayhem play around that? Are they going to focus on dive, just ignore Widow entirely, and try and focus on shutting down Shanghai's Widow? I mean, this is a real question. I think personally it's going to be a battle of the minds here. It's not so much going to be that individual performance that's going to carry anybody through. It's going to be who cracks first under the pressure, because you do not want to be the team that goes 0-4 losing against the other team who is 0-3.
So last week when we had teams almost about to go 0-2, I'm like, is it a must win? I'm like, a little early. But now if you really want to get to Stage 1 playoffs, it's getting to be must win. 0-4 almost eliminates you from the Stage 1 playoffs. If I'm Shanghai, I let Dia try to carry me. And you know, it's not a conventional meta, but Undead and Dia both have a very similar hero pool. Widow McCree. I would love to see some Widow McCree. It's their best heroes.
Just play the aim and play to perhaps one of Florida, the chink in like Florida Mayhem's armor, which is Logix. It seems like when he's got nothing to lose, the man goes off. He just starts hitting headshots left and right. It feels like he really feels his game. But when there's a bit more pressure on the team, Logix kind of stumbles. And so I think that's going to be one of the links here for Florida Mayhem that they need to keep an eye on. They need to make sure that Logix has the support necessary to do his job.
And Johnny mentioned it on the desk too. Logix is someone who we kind of questioned in his LAN environment, because online in the contender seasons he was a monster, but then when he got to the World Cup stage, not so much in that LAN environment. So is the stage getting to him? And now, as you mentioned, the pressure is on him because they are 0-3. A lot goes on how Logix plays today, and it's not the best map actually for Tracer, especially when you get to second point, but Logix's 76 has been stellar under us.
Yeah, that's really when we got to see him shine. The doors are open, the action is about to go down, and Undead, I was kind of wondering what was going on there, if he was going to stick on it or not, but he is going to switch off for the Widow in the end. And you have Zushu already trying to push the point forward, and there we go. That's what they were waiting for. Both tanks kind of working together as a unit there for Shanghai, just waiting to see when Florida would try to make a move.
I mentioned that maybe Dia would be pulling the Widow, but Undead, fitting to his name, did come to life in their last match. He has really leveled up over the last week or so, and he's playing extraordinarily. So if this is going to be a game that Shanghai wins, it's going to be on the DPS carries here.
Whoa, and Logic's taking some risks there, stepping out wide into the open, but there was some discipline there from Florida. They could have tried to chase Zushu, who overstepped his bounds, who nearly went down, but instead of committing, they backed off, said we're not going to take any risks. It's a longer run for us to get back here than it is for him, and so let it be and reset for the fight that's coming up now. Swoosh, in and out. That's exactly what he needs to be doing as a Winston, just doesn't want to overcommit.
Really smart on Tavic's Tracer. He's just taking the high ground. It will not let the Widow actually come up top to get the angles, and now they're having a problem pushing in because that Widow can't get any angles. Speaking of which, Tavic shuts down that Widow with a pulse bomb onto Undead, who is simply dead.
And Dia on a mission in the depths, in the bowels, looking to see if he can get in there to use his own pulse bomb, see if he can blow somebody up and start the party here. Not looking like it, though.
I mean, it is wide open. The tanks are way away, so if he can get an angle, there's where their supports are hanging out. He's
see him in the background there. You can see him in the background. This is going to be the commit on the fight. You can see Nano already being used here on Swoosh. He's looking to cleave on the squishies as much as possible. And it doesn't look like Dia has been able to achieve anything with his pulse bomb either. And so this is a fight that Florida Mayhem right now are winning.
Dia goes down, Manitin cleaning up. They did pop the Primal Rage. They used the Nano Boost as well on this full hold defense, but Florida still has some ultimates in the bag. And because they've been playing such a dominant fashion, Shanghai just now getting their ultimates online.
That's a cheeky side. Oh, no! Free feel out in the open. That was a cheeky self-destruct, just chucked in there as well. Ah, Manitin, that's the one where you kind of smile, you chuckle a little bit. It feels good.
So there's been some questionable plays by the Shanghai supports, and that's another one right there. Resurrecting your Zenyatta, who just died 5 feet out of spawn. Just let him respawn. That means that you have a resurrection for the next fight. Now they finally get some momentum. Manitin goes down early in this fight. Second resurrection comes up, brings up Undead, and it looks like Shanghai's finally getting a footing to push.
Yep, and I'm liking this exactly. MG just sticking on top of Logix, mitigating his tactical visor as well, and so the Valkyrie was still there for Alatory. It lasted a lot longer than it needed to because, of course, that's what Logix is waiting for. That's what he wants to use his tac visor for. Shut down that Mercy as fast as possible. But look at all the progress they've made on the payload now. They're even through the arch. Shanghai may have a chance.
That's the important thing, is that they're through the archway. And in my opinion, they should just ignore this fight. Just keep pushing. They're not even contesting the cart. The game of Overwatch is about objectives. It doesn't matter if you die or get kills. Pushing the cart is the important part of this.
Well, that was a bit of an awkward bit there as well. The support's getting cut off from the main line, and that really means that Florida are going to be able to collapse on the payload and just clean up. You're not getting any heals, you're not going to last forever.
Late Pulse Bomb takes down Altering, so they have to wait for this push. And meanwhile, Semler, 40 seconds left to get first point. This next fight is the definitive fight for the Shanghai offense.
And man, they've been really on point shutting out Dia. Dia does not seem to be able to get on top of these squishies. He doesn't seem like he's able to really coordinate much with MG to find these picks.
Yeah, they're trying to make a switch here at the last second. Undead goes to the Pharah, which is a decent pick. It's really going to test Logix to see if he can actually pressure them out. And they're just banking on Undead beating Logix on the 1v1, but Logic's about to have Tactical Visor at the ready.
Yeah, exactly, and as soon as you step out into the open, he's going to have a field day. A lot of pressure on MG and on Zushu as well to get in there to shut him down as quickly as possible, because as soon as that Visor is out, and here it is, pumping away, it's getting canceled out completely by Zushu. Great job by the Winston for Shanghai.
They have made some changes on this tank line, and he got the opponent's Mercy, and their Mercy's still alive, and that means 2 more people are going to come back up. Undead, fitting to his name, resurrected. Zushu is still in the Shanghai, is poised to get an extension on this clock and take first point.
Can Tavik keep buying time, though? The rotation is coming in from his teammates, but it looks like they don't... No! Zebasai launches himself in, and they're still trying to delay this payload. They're not out of the woods yet, Shanghai. They need to burn it down to the ground, and Undead trying to do just that, but he eventually gets clipped.
Sebo does take him down at the blaster, and that was an ambitious Valkyrie to say the least, and it is not going to work out. This is so good for Shanghai, because not only are they going to get first point, they have all the momentum in the world. You have to imagine they're going to keep both supports back. Both the tanks are going to try to lock out that front door and make sure that high ground is difficult for Florida to take.
Freefeel just checking out the ults real quick. Freefeel even holding on to his Transcendence, whereas over on Florida Mayhem side of things, both ults have been pretty much reset. So they do have the momentum, they have the edge when it comes to support ults, and I think now getting into the second week, we're starting to get a grip on things. We're starting to understand that those support ults can be the difference maker when it comes to these fights.
Oh, absolutely. Now, this is going to be interesting on second point because it's a little more wide open. This is Widow v Widow as it needs to be. Tavik has switched over to the Widow. Him and Undead are going to have battles back and forth, but a Widow pick here can open up that high ground and allow your tanks to not have to push up top.
This is where, yeah, Undead needs to take a breath and pace himself here. He's missing a few shots. Needs to just rally and take his time and find that line of sight and trust in it, most importantly.
Well, he's not even going to be pressured, actually, sorry. But
oh, never mind.
The other Tracer was over there trying to pressure it on Tavik. Tavik dealt with that, came back. Undead is now out of it, but they will bring him back to life.
Yeah, so he'll get a second chance at it thanks to altering with the res. Manatee, there's the self-destruct, gonna buy a little bit more time here. Not a whole lot though. Obviously that angle, not perfect for the bomb to go off in. Everybody able to stay alive there for Shanghai. Curious to see when Freefeel is gonna decide it's time to use that Transcendence though. He's been holding on to that for a while now.
Yeah, it's unfortunate as well that altering went down in that fight because they had a very small window where they were gonna have Valkyrie and Florida was not. Now the next fight will be Valk for Valk on the other side of things. Undead has gotten off of that Widow. I think it's a bit of a mistake. I think if they're gonna win this series, it's going to be on the Widow play, but he's gonna be on Soldier 76 instead.
So still some range there, some range DPS to try and find, or perhaps win the duel versus Logix. Logix already sitting on his tac visor though, and so one thing that Shanghai have been doing good is shutting down Logix on the tac visor. He hasn't really been able to have that impact, that hard carry kind of impact with that ultimate, and that is so important. To Vic! He hits one shot, but no headshot, no kill.
It's not really an angle here. No one should even be playing out there. The tactical visor is going to be so important because a Valkyrie will come in from Shanghai. A great job of patience from Shanghai right now, holding on to their Valk while the other Valk is going on.
Whoa, Logix. That's a bit of a spicy one. Will get the support from his Mercy just in the nick of time to stay alive. And this time around, you're not getting away, Zushu. He hunts him down in the end. Gonna put him on his mantle or in the reading room. And this is definitely looking good here for Florida. They've done a fantastic job of stalling things out before they can get to the second point. Shanghai trying to keep in this fight, altering with the Valkyrie, is able to bring a teammate back to life, but it's not going to be for long. There are just too many people here for Florida, and it's a successful first half for the Mayhem.
That is where the cart will stop, and even though everything was set up for success for Shanghai, altering holding onto the Valkyrie perhaps a bit too long, unable to get the full value out of it towards the end, but they were able to grab first. For a moment there, it looked like they were not even going to get through Archway. So the offense did adjust. I still think, though, that even though you got capped once on Widow, keep trying it. I mean, one life does not make a series.
Well, this is something you mentioned going into this series as one of your win conditions right now for Shanghai, is having Dia on the Widow, seeing as how he seems to be the standout Widow player out of both of these rosters.
Right.
Do you agree with them running Undead on Widow instead?
I mean, Undead did have a nice set last time against the San Francisco Shock. He really proved why he was on this team. They have very similar hero pools, but I think Dia's just a little better at the hit scan. He's the best hit scan hero in China. There's a good reason why he's on this roster. Make any argument you want otherwise. I think you just let him go to town. Dia had a good Widow against Seoul. That says a lot if you can still get done against Seoul. He had good duels against them, so I think that maybe you make that switch, but they were just more comfortable with him on the Tracer. He's a little more versatile.
I think you're going to be happy to see what's in store for you here, Hex, and what's in store for us all. Dia will be on the Widow. Excited to see him hit some headshots here.
Well, a broken clock is right twice a day, so that's my one time being right today. Maybe I'll get another one.
Oh, that's how we live. You know, that's how we survive. It's stay sane, Hex. Eventually, we will say something that is correct, at least according to Reddit. All right, so Florida, curious to see what they're going to go with. Logix on the Widow to start things off, and all right, this is clever.
Yeah, switch on both sides, because Tavik was running the Widow on their defense, and now Logix will be running the Widow on their offense. So, you know what? These rosters are kind of similar. Small rosters, their DPS have kind of the same type of pools, and then they switch up a lot, so should be interesting to see the Logix versus Dia battle. I think Dia still is the best Widow on the stage right now.
Now there's going to be an opening here for Logix to take advantage of as they suss out the defense. Shanghai not really changing up, at least in the initial setup. Tanks on the high ground to the left, just waiting to kind of drop down, and it's Manatee who's going to clear out a little bit more territory here for his team to work with. I like that from him. And there we go, finally. Shanghai will decide to take the drop. A little bit of pressure put into the background here, and eventually they will find the kills. Manatee just reigning supreme, takes down Zushu and gets the D-Mech on MG as well. The defense already crumbling rather, here for Shanghai.
Well, with both tanks down, everyone else has to just leave, because then you're going to get a 6-on-4 on all the squishies, targets, and the supports. And look at this. The tanks are being so aggressive that Mercy has to get out. Still on the chase, though. They're going to get a free push through the archway.
That's a real tough one for Dia. He has to give up the arch. That's Widow's turf. That's where she spins her web and just picks up kill after kill. And yet, without even seeing anybody, he's already having to give ground. This is all a question of whether Shanghai can get out through these choke points. And Dia finding the pick on Tavik. That's That's a great start.
It's not quite over yet, and that's going to make Dia a lot more comfortable knowing that he will not be flanked by a Tracer. They need to get the rest of this team in here. Self-destruct is going to zone out on this cart. Everyone's going to duck for cover. Undead finds Zupe, but where is the pressure on the cart? They get first points, and no contest comes out from Shanghai.
So quick, they're going to have so much time to work with here, Florida. Over 5 minutes now to just push it around the bend. You're about to see it here, Manhattan, that white rectangle on the ground. That's as far as Florida Mayhem need to push the payload to get the win here on the first map in this series.
And these tanks are doing whatever they want right now. I think the tanks from Shanghai were a little too aggressive on that first point. Know where your bread is buttered. Just stay back and let Dia try to get the damage. He's been the most consistent part of this team. And when they're far forward, they both got picked off. That means the fight's over, essentially. In a rough spot now as Shanghai's Florida continues to push.
Yeah, pressuring the high ground. This is exactly what they need to do. And it looks like Vic, exactly. The team play between the two of them. Tvik flushes Dia out into the open, and Logix does not miss the shot. Pressure is really on here for Shanghai now, and that's a great self-destruct. Will pick up the kill on Logix. He was low already. But Zebasai and Zupe are still alive.
Able to bring that back with some very good tank play, and that means that Dia is going to be untested here as Logix out of the mix, but a self-destruct in turn from Manhattan. They are bringing this back, not on the retreat just yet. Florida still pushing.
Still alive in this. Dia will try and stall it out just a little bit longer on that Widow. Not the best hero to go close quarters with, though. And Freefail finally decides to use the Transcendence. Once again, just trying to contest, wait for his teammates to resurrect and get back into this fight. But he's not long for this world, and it's looking grim for the Dragons. Already, Florida Mayhem, Swoosh is just loving it right now. It's like, oh yeah, man, winning feels good.
You know, despite being 0-3, they were super loose. They seemed like they were ready to play. I mean, there's one thing, 0-3 could be a lot of pressure or no pressure. No one really expects much out of them, and they came out super loose. Looked very good there. Shanghai needs to readjust their strategy.
We'll have to see how it carries out. In the next map, it will be Assault, the 2 capture points. A lot of action there for Widows as well, and so we'll see if there's going to be a change of strategy coming up here for both of these teams, or if they're going to stick to their guns. I mean, it's really looking good here for Florida.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel and Omen by HP.
I'm Swoosh. I play main tank for Florida Mayhem. I'm from Sweden. We live in a small village called Fagersta with only 12,000 people. I've played games since I was 10. It all started with my big brother who used to have LAN parties, and I got hooked instantly. I love playing tank because you have to do everything to keep your team alive. Even if it means putting your body in front of your allies, you have to do it.
Swoosh just trying to keep San Francisco Shock bottled up a bit.
My favorite snack right now would be the teriyaki beef jerky. It's absolutely amazing. And I've heard people talk about it before I went to NA. And trying it myself, it's totally amazing. My personal goal for Season 1 is to obviously win the entire league, but I would also love to prove myself as a tank, and I can't wait to prove that every single person wrong who doubt in me.
Swoosh, man with a bone to pick, sounds like. I mean, it's good because he needs to pick all that teriyaki out of his teeth. That stuff gets stuck in there, and it's a nightmare, Hex.
We're both fans of the jerky. So 12,000 people in this one. I'm pretty sure there's 12,000 people in my apartment building.
Dude, Sweden is a big place, and then you realize, wait a second, everybody only lives in like Malmo, Stockholm, or Gothenburg, and the rest of it is just forest. There's nothing there. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful. That's why. No humans to mess it up.
It is very nice. I've been to Gothenburg. Gothenburg?
Oh, no, we're not going to get into this game. Göteborg? Yeah, no. That's the thing, man. It's you get the Swedish names, and they're just like, yeah, Freiburg is fine, you know, because otherwise it's like Friberg. And I'm like, nope, I can't say that.
One thing I can pronounce is Anubis, Temple of, we are going into. The only map that the Shanghai Dragons have won coming into today's set has been an assault map. They won Horizon Lunar Colony against, I believe it was the San Francisco Shock. So maybe this is a map type that will give them an advantage. When I looked at this pool, as I mentioned on Dorado, having a Widow is very, very good, especially at this first point. However, you know how much I love Genji on second point here, and they don't really have one on the roster.
Come on, man. All right, just real quick to note, obviously for Florida Mayhem, they are a 6-man roster. They have no subs. That will get that out of the way real quick. But Shanghai Dragons have elected not to change up either. So they're going to stick with the same roster here that they had on the first map. So I'm curious to see how that works out. If we're going to get a different result, or if they're going to decide to shake things up again, maybe get Roshan into the play.
Yeah, Roshan is definitely their Winston main, and Zushu's going to pick up that role too. Maybe they thought they could change something up. I mean, at a certain point when you're 0-3, you just change anything up and hope for a little bit of different results here. So Temple of Anubis, like I said, this is the map type that Shanghai was successful on previously, and it is a good Widow map. Looks like the defense for the Mayhem going to be building that wall. Game of Thrones style. Get Orisa up there as well.
Yeah, we are in North America after all. So, curious to see where the Widow is going to come into the mix here. If Logix is going to like to go back to it. No, actually, sorry, Tvik already had it. It was Logix who was switching up to the Tracer.
I was going with fantasy walls. Why have to bring reality into my life?
Funny, I was talking about one too. So, on the other side, Shanghai Dragons. Yeah, it's looking like straight Diverino here for them, although Undead will be rocking the Widow, so I'm sure we'll see him battle versus Tvik. It's not really going to be fun for him, though, because Tvik is going to get a shield, and you can already see it happening. Zupe with the boost. Tvik is just going to hit like a freight train.
The moment Undead sees this, he should switch. There's nothing you can do as an offensive Widow in this situation. You're never going to crack that shield, and I think once they saw it, they're going to try to figure something out. Maybe Undead goes Genji. You can crack this static position if you send a Genji up with both of your tanks, but it seems like Undead is going to wait for his tanks to push them off of high ground and hopefully pick up the aftermath.
I mean, fair enough. The only thing, you don't have a Genji here. That is a cool angle, but you don't have a Genji here to like combo up with MG with Zoosh. Okay, buddy. Tvik, definitely not expecting that.
We'll see if we can do it again because Tvik is rezzed up immediately. Zebo takes down Dia, who is part of that dive. There goes Free Feel, and despite the nice pickoff early from Undead, it does seem like Florida has stabilized, but the offense has the advantage here because the run back distance, they will get reinforcements quicker if they can continue to push.
Yes, listen to your diva. There is in fact a sniper in the back line. Curious to see how long Undead's going to be able to hang around back there because you do have Swoosh who's currently trying to hunt her down, and Swoosh, Big Monkey with the taser, and he looks like he's found her. Undead, not long for this world, and he will get staggered. That might slow things down a little bit here for Shanghai.
And now he's in the sunk cost kind of situation because he probably should switch off of the Widow, but at 96% of your ultimate, you're able to see through walls. That will give you the advantage in the Widow v Widow battle, so I think he'll give it one more life.
Well, if you can keep pulling a fast one on Tvik like that, fair enough. If you're going to force the res out of Zupe, that could make the rest of the fight, go your way. And so fingers crossed here that Undead will find the angle. The rest of his team are waiting to go. MG just taking a peek out there, trying to see if he can spot anybody, and they're working their way around here. MG trying to create some kind of lane to get a wrap going. Perhaps the pincer onto the point is what's meant to happen.
And they're putting a little pressure on the point as well. They've got a little bit of progress there that makes them abandon the high ground on the defense as they continue to push. And if Undead can win this fight, which he cannot, because Tvik rises to the occasion, rises to the challenge, takes down Undead. And that's going to be very difficult for the offense to continue pushing without that DPS pressure.
Wait, there's no way. Tvik didn't hear that? Doesn't seem like he cares. He knows that the jump is used, but there's the follow-up. Zushu hunting down Zupe. That could be a big play here that could turn the tide, but it doesn't look like Shanghai are in position to take advantage of it.
That's 100% worth. They have to go in on this now. They have Valkyrie up. They know Zupe is out of the fight. Just go in. Even if you die, res it up. It is time to go, Shanghai.
Trying to will them forward here because this is a big opportunity, but it looks like Zupe will have time to run back and support his teammates, and sure enough, Zupe's back into the fight. Tvik is there to lay the damage down. Does manage to bait out a reaction here from Zushu, who's gone for the Primal Rage, and so he's looking to bat people off of the high ground down onto the point, but Tvik is here watching the line, and he misses the shot. Huge opportunity here for Tvik. He's been spotted, and it looks like Dia wants to try and put the pressure on him.
Tvik's gonna try to get out of there. The pulse bomb does not find Pater, but Altering goes down in this fight after he popped Valkyrie. That is a disaster for Shanghai. Florida will get the resurrections should they so need it.
And in the meantime, Zupe just flying high on those wings, rezzing people left and right. And we've only got 40 seconds left here for Shanghai Dragons to make a play. They have a tick, at least, on the first point.
It's just so disappointing they didn't use Valkyrie because you're not going to win even fights. Your history shows you're not winning even fights, so you have to know when your timing windows are, when you have the advantage, and to press the advantage. You just pick the enemy Mercy and everyone's retreating. Just unbind your W. Stop going backwards.
Actually, I think it's the S that you want to unbind there, so Hex just saying. W is forward.
Oh,
all right, never mind. I'm throwing you under the bus here. I don't even know why, but whatever. Let's get into it because already Manitin again, big kill with the self-destruct there, taking down Freefield. There is a presence on the point. It's MG, but her mech is already half dead. And so now it is the duel between Logix and Dia. Tvik has been caught by Zushu, but still Florida Mayhem remain. And they still have the Transcendence as well here from the Zenyatta to try and delay things further if they wanted to, although no, I think he's actually having to run back from spawn, so never mind.
Well, this substitution has worked out great for them. Zushu carrying this team on his back with 3 quick kills on the Winston, cleaning up everything on the point, and off of that great scientist play, they will capture first point in the 25th hour.
So, Shanghai, overtime artists. That's the nickname now, because it's what we saw in the first point. Oh, nicely done by Tvik, but then again, it's Junkrat. You really just throw those nades out, and Dia, well, all you can do is shake your head. You were in the wrong place at the wrong time.
He was damage boosted too. That's a one shot onto a Tracer. Feels bad, man. I play a lot of Tracer. I eat a lot of those grenades.
Yeah.
It never feels good.
You and me both. And then you kind of just shake your fist at the heavens, Junkrat, and try, not to freak out too much. But Tvik, I mean, I guess when you've got the Tvik, you're playing against one of the better players out there. Tvik is just a beast, able to play so many heroes. I believe we saw the tidbit there was like 11 heroes played so far.
He's always been very versatile. They're running a good composition here. It should counter everything they're running because Undead will be mostly unchecked in the air. The reason you don't see a ton of Pharah on offense on Last Point Anubis is it's just so small and claustrophobic. The ceiling is kind of low. You can't really utilize her strengths, all of that well. You get caught up on these pillars. So the idea is sound to be able to use it against the Junkrat, of course, the natural counter, and there's no great counter to it. We'll see if Undead can actually get anything done with that Pharah.
Very curious to see if Tvik is going to be able to land the mines on her. Just because of that lack of height, it could set it up. Logix just waiting patiently. It doesn't look like Shanghai Dragons are aware of him being up here on this shelf. Taking a couple of pot shots, and now the game is up. They're going to have spotted him. He doesn't have the pulse bomb, though, but he is just looking to take the fight straight to Dia. Not going to let Dia get comfortable back here at all.
That is a late Transcend that comes in trying to keep the tanks alive as they both went in. MG will go down because he took a 1v6 in there. He will be the first to fall, and that means the fight's essentially over, but they will start rezzing people back to life. Both now up 6v6.
6v6, and we get a rinse and repeat. Undead has connected with Swoosh, though. Those missiles, the rockets actually doing the damage. Tvic's still alive, though, and he is perfectly capable of doing tremendous damage himself, although there it is, the barrage, and Tvic, no way for him to cancel it, but somehow he survives.
He survives because Zupe came out of spawn and he's got his Valkyrie up. Everyone's going to get that chain healing. A later Valkyrie used by the Florida Mayhem means that they will hold on this defense. Shanghai, not for nothing, did get a third here, so they're going to have another couple pushes. 90 seconds remains in their time bank.
And MG, this is what you do. You let the baby diva run. Although Tvic doesn't have a shred of mercy, he's actually going to beat her to death. But really what you want to do is let that diva stay alive, because then she'll have trouble getting that mech back. It could delay things further. So small details that you guys can take away and start using in your own games.
It's one of the biggest downsides of D.Va is that she's able to be staggered so effectively once she gets out of mech. You see it a lot. It's a big part of the strategy. And anytime you can delay a team that only has 90 seconds left, that might just win you the map.
Yeah, exactly. We hear it. Voice of God right there. 60 seconds left.
Huge Valkyrie advantage on the side of Shanghai. On paper, this is a fight they should win, and that's a great start for them as well. Maniton out of the mix.
And on high logic. No way! Kobe! That's one way to handle the Pharah. Just drop a pulse grenade on her, pulse bomb. That's it. Logic's keeping the pressure up.
Both resurrections used out of this Valkyrie, which was the huge advantage here. If Florida's able to stall out at all, Zupe will have his Valkyrie. It does come online right now.
What is this tire? Really got the mileage on that one, Tvic. And well, Swoosh just punching people in the face. That's what he loves to do. And it is looking like it's kind of petering out here for Shanghai Dragons. They have got 15 seconds left on this clock to make a play, and Swoosh not gonna let them get out in one piece either.
So there's three things we know about Swoosh. He likes to dance, he likes beef teriyaki, and he likes punching people in the face.
All of those key, you know, perfectly acceptable. I'm fine with that.
I'd like to hang out with him. It sounds fun. At least the first two.
There we have it. Time runs out. Shanghai not quite able to make it happen. And it's kind of a similar situation to what we had on Dorado, right? They get one tick on this point. In the second point here of Anubis, Dorado, same thing. Got the first point in overtime and then just maybe got like a tick worth of progress on that payload.
It's just been about pressing their advantage when they have it and not necessarily knowing when they have the advantage. The top level teams not only know when to use their ults, but they know what ults they're going into. And they know when they have a 20% Valkyrie lead and they can press that and win the fight. They had a huge Valkyrie lead. They should have got in there. Of course, a nice pulse bomb by Logix came in and it threw a wrench into those gears. But it's just about finding your window and exploiting it that I think Shanghai's missing out on right now.
There's monstrous pressure on these players as well, considering they are the only Chinese team in this league. You are not supposed to go down at the bottom of the league right now, and so that is definitely playing a factor here in this roster's performance as well. They've just got that in the back of their head, like, we are failing right now and this is not good. And so they need to turn it around. It's a matter of shaking it off, because Florida Mayhem have certainly shown that they are mere mortals. They are not at the top of the league right now. They are in the same boat. So just start rocking it, Shanghai, come on.
One of these teams will get a win. One will be still without a win, joining Dallas at the bottom. Dallas will have a chance, though, later today to get that 0 out of the win column. Shanghai still trying to find the right compositions here. It's still going to hurt them that they don't have a natural projectile player, nor do they have a natural Zenyatta. The way this team was built was a little bit questionable in who they brought for supports. However, I do want to tell people who don't necessarily know, a lot of the best players that you wish were on this roster are ineligible. They're too young to play in the Overwatch League.
There is a 17-year-old cutoff, essentially. And so a lot of the big talent in Shanghai, well, in Shanghai and China, unfortunately not able to make the roster, but still, it is just a matter of time. It is a long season, and so there are plenty of opportunities here for Shanghai to turn things around. And while this is perhaps one way to do it, I mean, they've decided to go for the McCree play on Undead instead of sticking to the Widow. I mean, Hex, what do you make of that?
It's his best hero by a long shot. He's a great McCree, and I think we'll probably see him when we go into Control next. However, map-wise, it's not something you see on First Point Anubis almost ever, a defensive McCree here. And the reason being is there's too much distance between where the team is going to come in from for you to do effective damage. You're essentially going to let them in, and Tvic shuts down Dia immediately with a huge headshot.
And there we go. Zushu gets baited out. The trick. Oh no, and now Tvik cannot, well, he just go and link up with the rest of his team if he wants to. He even left a little present there for Zushu. Definitely not going to be happy about that, the monkey. Oh, well, that's a strong start here for Florida. They're picking them off one at a time. High ground is still occupied by Shanghai. They still have something to work with there. Altering can still be in the fight. Just keep getting closer and closer to that Valkyrie as well. That's going to be so important here to perhaps turn the tide versus Florida. But Florida nearly halfway there to picking up the first point, and Tvik still reigns supreme. He's hitting shot after shot.
They're still going to come in and try to pressure the Zushu. Finally goes down as an afterthought in the back lines. He was alive very long. They are working their way towards these ultimates. They have resurrection available, but where Zushu died is unresable.
Ah, here we go, the Transcendence. Now Tvik can't really do anything here. So long as his teammates stay within that circle, they should be fine. It's about the sight lines, and somehow Tvik still finds a kill on Dia, who has not had a great first point here. Unfortunately for him, that pulse bomb will go unused, and this might be it for Florida. The self-destruct to buy a bit more time here, and Logix will dodge it using the recall, and even cancels out MG. Super solid stuff coming in here from Florida.
Transcendence heals everyone very quickly, but burst damage will go through it. The only one invulnerable is that Zan, which is why they lost their Tracer in that fight. The burst damage from Widow too strong. The decent thing is that Zupe had to use his ultimate, and now they take down Altering. Logix going to town.
Yeah, it feels like Logix is starting to come into his own here. He's had a few good moments on that Tracer. He's definitely a solid Tracer player as well.
Both supports now down for Florida, though, so if they're going to do this, it's going to have to be a grit and determination battle. They only need one tick on the point, 33% of progress. But now with Maniton being demacked, it might be time to reset.
Solid. Swoosh realizes the game is up and just throws him in there. Throws himself in there, rather. Just dies. And so he will come back to life with the rest of his team, and they will be able to move together as a unit. Logix rocking the pulse bomb for now, but we will have a self-destruct from Maniton. Could be a bit fun to chuck that onto the point, create some space.
So interesting enough, on defense, they switched a bunch of heroes to get out there for stall. Moira, of course, has movement ability and speed to get on the point. Free Fuel went to that. Undead is on this Doomfist. I think that might have been a stall tactic, but now he's just going to roll with it. Yeah. Doomfist is very popular in the Chinese meta.
And well, he had a chance. You can see what he was thinking there as well, because he was lined up with the Junkrat coming through on Tvik. MG finds the kill on Tvik, though, with the syrup, but it's not going to be it. A little bit too late there, and Florida Mayhem will pick up the second map in this series of 4. Undead, I mean, I like the thought. You can see it right there. He was lining up that punch, and that's a one-hit kill if he lands it on Tvik, and so that could be a play, but he just wasn't quite able to connect.
I would like to see them just run their best heroes. Run some Doomfist, run some McCree, run some Widow. What you're trying is not working. However, yesterday we saw an 0-2 that got ran back by the Gladiator, so Shanghai is not out of this one yet.
Yeah, that was a style and play there from Logix. Glad to see him coming into his own. It seems like that pressure probably easing a little bit on him. We're starting to see some style points.
That's some response to Shanghai.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP and by Intel.
Things are looking good for Florida, currently up 2-0 over the Shanghai Dragons. Welcome back to halftime, ladies and gentlemen. It's Bucket here with Reinforce and Sideshow. And Florida got off to a hot start. We're going to jump right into our Dorado coverage by focusing on the DPS, because coming in, we knew the strengths of Florida, but we haven't had time to really just watch these two players go off. Logix is going to open things up here, and today we got a chance to see him on multiple heroes, Reinforce.
Yes, we started off with the Soldier, of course, and this is something they've run in the past, utilizing the high ground onto Dorado. But of course, then we saw him flex onto the Tracer, and that has been the shining hero for Logix, which we talked about in the pre-game. Hasn't really been his best hero thus far in the Overwatch League, but going up against the Shanghai Dragons, he gets a lot more space onto that Tracer, and I mean, he's just popped off the series.
Sancho, after watching these highlights, why would you ever take Logix off of the Soldier 76?
He is fantastic on it, but he really made his name on Tracer, and in previous metas throughout 2017, Tracer was by far and away the most important hero that you needed somebody to carry on, and he is phenomenal. If you take a look at these statistics, he is doing so much damage, and his eliminations are 33 for 2. He is charging his ultimate on average every 43 seconds. And that is compared to a league average of about 65 seconds and Dia on 68 seconds. This is a massive difference. What's that, 25-second difference?
Yes.
He's charging it that much quicker.
And they're really abusing the lack of good tanks in the Shanghai Dragon squad, because he's building these ultimates onto the big targets, the Diva and the Winston. And so when Shishu jumps in, when MG follows, that's when Logix strikes and it hits up those tanks and break them down before even Shanghai Dragon can set up a proper dive.
Now, what's most impressive as well, though, is that he's not just doing that. You do see some Tracers who just farm the tanks. Logic's actually going for a load of 1v1s and taking the 1v1s against Dia, against Undead, and he's still being able to keep up this level of damage done, so he's having a great game so far. And this is kind of what we wanted to see from Logix. We haven't seen this level of Tracer play coming out from him, even though in 2017, in online tournaments, we saw this a lot.
He's back, baby. Logix is back, and so is his buddy Tavik, the Swede, going off. We watched him at the World Cup. Tavik is back at his best here today. Let's take a look at some of his moments from Dorado. Now, while Logix is kind of playing back on the Soldier, Tavik started off early on playing the Tracer role.
Yes, he played the Tracer, and that's initially because they want to flex to the Widowmaker later on, where he got all of those picks. Once again, because the Shanghai Dragons tanks, Chishu and MG, jump towards the payload and play a lot more objective, sometimes diving onto Sevosai and Supe. Twig has so much space on the Widowmaker, constantly going for flanks. We saw it on Anubis, point A, where Twig was often in a pretty awkward position, away from the Florida Mayhem squad, just so he could find those picks. And when Shishu on the Winston isn't jumping on Twig, Twig is popping off.
I feel so bad for altering so far throughout this series. Every time you look at that Mercy from Shanghai Dragons, it's either Tavik or Logix all over him. There's a few of the numbers coming in from Tavik. Fantastic start as they get a big win on Dorado. Let's now take it over to our second map, and that was Temple of Anubis. It started off with Florida Mayhem looking like they were going to full hold. Eventually, the Shanghai Dragons were able to break through. As we look at some of the highlights here, talk me through the first half. What was happening here for the Dragons?
They were struggling really to establish a foothold in point A. We said at the beginning that their Widowmaker, whoever was playing it, Undead or Dia, it ended up being Undead, would have to go huge if they were going to have a chance of being able to win Anubis. Unfortunately, we didn't. Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? Just such a cool pulse bomb coming out from Logix. But we saw Undead play some of these projectile heroes. He was playing the Pharah. This is Shanghai Dragons diversifying the heroes that they're able to play on. And previously we saw this from Dia, so they've got the flexibility on their DPS players, but they were unable to really pull it through to secure both of the objectives there.
All right, so we are seeing a little bit of different hero compositions coming through. As you saw in that clip, a little bit of hit scan being played by Undead, while Dia was focused on the projectiles in the past. This time around, it's Undead on the Pharah. What do you think is working out best? If you're looking purely at the DPS heroes, who's best sorted for which?
I think if you're looking at this Shanghai Dragon squad, you need to figure out what they're the most comfortable with. Someone in the crowd was really excited about the Doomfist pickup, but then Twig just swapped to the Junkrat and shut it down immediately. So I'm not quite sure Shanghai Dragons know what they want specifically, what they want to play. So they need to figure out a simple style, stop flexing so much, and just adapt to a single thing. Like we've seen a lot of teams just opt for the Genji and Tracer. Find your own niche, if you want to put it that way. Just play with the Widowmaker and the Tracer if that's what you like the most.
We know that this squad is coming to the Blizzard Arena. They're preparing even on non-match days from 10:30 a.m. all the way to midnight. Now that includes some breaks, some communication sessions where they talk over things, and also their meals. But they're in this building. They are living and breathing Overwatch right now. It looks like today they're having a little bit more success flexing Shishu over onto this Winston. What have you thought of the tank play so far, Sideshow?
Yeah, individually, I don't think that Sheshu is a better tank than Roshan in terms of just his individual play. But the synergy seems to be there between him and MG, much better than when we saw Roshan and MG play together. Now, I don't know what that is. Maybe it's calling and communication. Maybe it's just the natural play styles of these two guys. Maybe it's just because they put in the effort to focus on tank synergy. It's impossible to tell looking from the outside, but I do think that this looks like a fairly decent route for Shanghai Dragons going forward. I can see promise in Sheshu playing this, and he also plays the Pharah, he also plays the D.Va, so this does give them a bit more flexibility. This is the best time to experiment, right?
Johnny, final question for you, Mr. Reinforce. As we take a look at the future maps, we're going to Ilios next. If Shanghai is going to stay alive and make this one competitive, who is the player to pop off?
I think it has to be Undead. If we're going to Ilios, I think we'll see some Pharah and some Widowmaker. So I think that Undead has to be the one that pops off for this Shanghai Dragon squad.
All right, we are officially 50% of the way done here through the day. Are you guys having a good time? We got at least 6 more games coming your way after this commercial break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places.
Lot going for Florida Mayhem here as they go on the attack. Shanghai Dragons will go ahead and win that attack round. Zebasai firing from on high. Roshan back on the point right now. That's nice. Dia does get another one. There's one more. But Tavik says, no problem, man, I got the barrage. Gets a couple there, and Logic's with the cleanup.
All right, welcome back, everybody, from the break. It is halftime. Well, halftime is over, Hex, and now we move into the remaining 2 maps in this series between Shanghai and Florida Mayhem. Both of these teams are 0-3 in the league. It's been a bit of a rough start for them. There's a lot on the line today because you really don't want to be the first team to go 0-4.
No, you don't, and we may come across as a little harsh on Shanghai. It's just so frustrating for me personally. I've watched these guys play. I did 6 weeks of the Overwatch Premier Series, which is one of the China's best tournaments. And so watching these players who I know are so talented being unable to put it together and win maps is super frustrating. We are headed into Ilios. This is Undead's best map. We've seen Pine go absolutely off on McCree. It's a good McCree map. Undead, we started calling Deadeyes Undead Eyes because he gets himself in great position. He goes up the stairs. He generally knocks a Fair Mercy out of the sky if they choose to run that. So this is a map where Undead could go absolutely off on McCree.
So neither of these teams have elected to go for the subs either, so it will be the same rosters that we'll be seeing here for Shanghai. I know I don't need to say neither because obviously Florida Mayhem only have the 6, but Shanghai Dragons, they are staying with the same 6-man roster here for the remaining, well, for this map at least. They can still change between maps, and so if it gets down to the wire, to the last map, they could still decide to bring Roshan into the mix if they want. But yeah, in general, these control points can get a bit more chaotic, right? You know, when you're going on assault or something, there's a lot of strategy involved, and perhaps the timing is going to be a bit more key. Here in Control, here in Control, it can be a bit more chaotic. It can get a little bit dicey, and so perhaps Shanghai, that is a way, you know, as you say, if this is Undead's turf, maybe it's his chance to shine, and we're going to see Shanghai be able to pull through here for a W.
It's a map type where your DPS can carry you to victory, and the best players on this Shanghai roster are their DPS players in Undead and Dia. Of course, we're going to start off on Ruins, which means we're going to see Widowmaker. Can Undead take down Logix in this fight? It all comes down to that early on, and actually, I'd like that Shanghai's not subbing out. Roshan has been a fine player, but Zushu's had a really good game so far on 10.
Yeah, as far as, you know, Shanghai, the positives there, Zushu, he has definitely shown us a different level today. He has been trying to peel, trying to make it happen. It seems like the communication just needs to get improved a little bit so that he gets a little bit more support from MG, from altering. And so we have to see, there's still time here for Shanghai, and well, you can see Undead. He is not really like what you'd call a patient, you know, Widowmaker. He really just kind of hunts for frags, for flicks, you know, tries to make it happen very quickly.
He's going for it. He had a sightline on that Mercy, unable to connect with a shot. He knows that the Widow is over there as well. He's trying to dodge shots as he tries to get some in right now. However, first real control going over to Mayhem early. Undead will fall. Logix takes 2 down quickly. Manitin will clean up the scraps. And it seems like first control of Ilios Ruins will go over to the Florida Mayhem.
At least Dia didn't die to Zebasai. that's a real feel-bad moment. If you're playing Tracer and you take an orb to the head from the Zenyatta that you're trying to gank and it doesn't work out, that's a sad, sad feeling if you're playing Tracer.
Tracer dies to everything. A soft whisper will kill a Tracer. That 150 HP goes very, very quickly. Tvik is now going to try to hit that stick. Unable to connect with that one, though, being very aggressive on this hold so far in Ilios.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think she's British. You know, they live off of banter. They should, I mean, you a little thicker skin there, Tracer, come on. It is not the case right now. Tvik still trying to harass in the back line, trying to buy the time, and of course with recall, he can get himself out of harm's way, no problem, and he is on the hunt. He's spotted Dia, already seen that he's trying to make his way around to the point. Zebasai, in the meantime, will be rezzing Manitin, and Dia wins the duel versus Logix, but thanks to the Valkyrie, Florida Mayhem still able to get their resurrects.
They forced out the Valkyrie, it brought up 2, and now they have their own Valkyrie bringing up their fallen heroes as well. Zushu and Dia now back in the mix. Shanghai with a small advantage right now. That's a bigger advantage, but the Pulse Bomb will mitigate most of that. Both tanks now out of the fight. Dia doing his best to hard carry here.
He is really doing the damage, you know, with those kills on Zupe, with pressuring the backline, more importantly, forcing Florida Mayhem to fall back, to give ground, allowing for Shanghai Dragons to start pushing out from their spawn, and at least having a fight here on the point, but it didn't go their way this time, and Florida Mayhem, 75% and counting. And so Shanghai, this is where, you know, those screws got to start to get a bit tight.
There's a lot of pressure on them because they've been using the Valkyrie later, and those are times where you need to get the kills to make the fight. Their timings are actually decent right now for Shanghai as they're doing better ult economy, but unable to secure the kills during that time frame. They lose 2 quickly in this beginning fight. And it seems like Florida's still going to hold on to control, and Shanghai might just drop this first stage.
There's a chance, exactly. If your field had to drop onto the point to try and buy a little bit of time, you have to contend, but the overtime wick is a burning, and it is running out. Be sure to tap it, and there it is, the reset. Zushu dropping back, and it looks like finally Shanghai Dragons, thanks to Undead, thanks to NG, they are going to be able to win a fight here and start gaining some percentage.
Very good for them, as Freefield did give up his life, got resurrected on the point. They're able to take control of that, cannot lose a single fight from here on out. It is going to be down to those Valkyries in the next fight, as Altering has his online, Zebo getting close to it, and Shanghai needs to take advantage of their ultimate timings.
The attempt, and there it is, success! Zupe blown to bits to spare parts, and already Manhattan gonna get clipped out of the sky as well. Dia having an impact, looking for the follow-up kill on Zupe. Zupe not having a good time when Tracer's riding him like this.
We mentioned that if Shanghai was going to win this series, it's going to be on the very capable back of Dia. He is an all-star, a great DPS player, and right now he put his backpack on and he's trying to bring Ilios back for the Shanghai Dragons.
In Dia's life, every day is leg day. And so right now, that's what it's all about, but he is ready. He is prepared, and he does have Undead hitting some shots as well. Dia, once again, there to pounce, looking for a target, just making sure that Florida Mayhem can't get too comfortable. They have to worry about him going for the flank on the squishies.
Very sneaky. They should know he is here right now. Should know that he is behind. A Valkyrie is popped preemptively by Zebo's side, so Altering will end up popping his later. This is a good ultimate situation for the Shanghai Dragons. It's time to pop their own Valk to bring Undead back to life. They need to bring MG back as well.
And in the meantime, where is Dia? What is going on? He will be able to get onto the point and challenge, but he has not been able to stop his teammates from getting picked off by the enemy Widowmaker. He is still alive and trying to build that ult charge, but it is taking so long, and thanks to the Valk, thanks to the heals really coming in from Zebasai, he is not able to get a kill. It will be Tavik on cleanup duty, showing that he's quite capable on Tracer as well. And this might be the turning point. The point caps for Florida Mayhem, and the overtime wick is done. First round goes for Florida Mayhem.
Yet again, they had the Valkyrie advantage, unable to capitalize on it for Shanghai. They are so close to winning some of these stages, some of these fights. If you're Shanghai and you're in the situation where you're 0-3, it's time to start building on small positives. One pick, one fight, one stage, one map. You can't look at the big picture right now. You have to micromanage yourself and start building on these positives. They were close to turning that around.
It wasn't far off. And that's where you can see the potential here. That if they can just get a little bit better on the comms, if they can just start coordinating a bit better and playing off of Dia, creating this space, creating this opportunity, we may see the turnaround that we all want for Shanghai. But right now, Florida, they're just too, well, they're on point. That's what's the real key here. Shanghai need to figure out a way to get them off of it.
As good as Dia was playing, Tavik matched him step for step there, especially towards the end on that Tracer.
You got to give it to Logix too.
Yeah.
Really winning out on that Widow duel, which is so key.
Oddly enough, Logix's best heroes have been his 76 and his McCree. He's known as a Tracer main. He's been totally fine on it, but when he really stands out, it's on those other heroes. Early in this fight, both Winston's out of it already.
And the pressure getting forward on Undead has managed to take out Swoosh, so one of the tanks has been floored for Florida Mayhem. At that point is getting capped over here for Florida Mayhem. Shanghai, there it is. We will have Zushu launching himself onto the point, trying to create a bit of an opportunity here for his roster to get in here and challenge this, not let Florida have it for free. Logix, a bit squishy, can't really get into the fight. Point blank, at least, just pecking away at these guys right now with the Peacekeeper. He is staying alive, though, and so long as he is alive, he is a real threat.
Losing Dia hurts them a lot. It means there's only one angle of attack, and it lets Logix just sit back and keep popping through those doorways. It's gone over now, control in Florida Mayhem. They will clean up the rest of it. Logix, he's got a very, very good McCree.
Just not willing to give them the choice.
See if we see any changes here, but with Shanghai nearing the ultimates, I think they're going to run the same roster. Undead did good early in that fight, was able to take down Tavik. That's why you run a McCree to completely shut down the opponent's Tracer. That's a nice early pick. That is going to get resurrected, but that means they want a resurrection up. Logix creeps around the corner and takes down Dia.
And he's still doing tremendous damage. There is the Deadeye Altering. He's gone. You pointed it out earlier. Transcendence, it is a powerful heal, but it will not deal with the brute force of the Deadeye. Too much damage dealt too quickly. And so Logix reigns supreme on this map for now.
Zebosai did use his Valkyrie there, which means Shanghai will have the Valkyrie in their pocket. It should be a fight that they win going forward because you have the man advantage if you can keep up on that, but it's going to be Logic's trying to shut down that Valkyrie in the sky.
Keeping eyes for the pick, keeping eyes on it here. We already have one of the Valks getting used. Altering not wasting any time, trying to keep his teammates in this fight. Free Feel and Undead have already fallen, however, and so it's not looking too promising. Undead will get brought back to life, however.
This is never the situation you really want a Valkyrie into. You lose 2, you bring 2 up, you've used your ultimate, and now you're only fighting at even here, but you have to use it. Altering takes matters into his own hands, able to take down Logix himself. Still, though, no pressure on the point from Shanghai.
Very quick play there from Tvik to dodge that self-destruct. You gotta admire that, the quick reactions when he realized the recall wasn't gonna keep him alive. And Tvik on the hunt, he knows, but he will get punished. There it is, Undead with the shutdown. Not letting Tvik have his way, and here is a chance, an opportunity for Shanghai Dragons to get this point capped for themselves.
This is a fight they need to win. They got every pick they were looking for to start that one off. The self-destruct will come out on the side just to get a new mech for Bannerton. Dia does punish Zupe. They're getting a little bit of kills back and forth, but Sebo has earned another Valkyrie in this fight. Altering still 20% away. They need to stall it out enough for him to get back into this point.
Yeah, MG not going to be long for this world. Unfortunately for him, he gets snuffed, and the point just ticks right back over for Florida Mayhem. The wick is burning. They're at 99%, and Florida Mayhem will be winning this series 3-0 for the Florida Mayhem over Shanghai Dragons. And while there will be the 4th map, there is the hybrid map. That map matters due to tiebreakers at the end of the season. But it is the team who wins the most maps in an engagement, in a match, that will take the win. And so Florida Mayhem, it looks like they were able to keep it together today. Not looking too excited there. I don't know. You'd think they're a bit backslapping. Hey, we got a W. No, yeah, no. High five? No, not interested.
Shanghai still looking for any positives to build off of going forward. They will have another map to get a 1 on the board at least, and that's what you have to do in this situation. Start building off of the positives.
Exactly right.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel and Omen by HP.
The Overwatch League represents a different direction than esports have taken in the past. A global community of professionals for a truly global league.
Welcome back, everybody, from the break. I absolutely love whoever organizes the scores for Blizzard, for these videos, the hype, the background music. Everything is just so sick about the music with this game. I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
It's great sound design. I am notoriously not a fan of having headphones on, but for this game, it's worth investing in a good set of headphones. You will miss a lot if you don't have them on. I just heard the didgeridoo the other day. I mean, it's definitely worth it. All the subtlety in the sound design is amazing.
The way your eyes lit up, you know, it's like a kid finding an extra candy bar in his pocket or something like that. I mean, it's just fantastic. Hex, I'm glad that I got to see that firsthand. I mean, right now, Shanghai are the ones who are trying to figure out exactly what they need to do, and so we already have a couple of changes being made here to the roster. Do you think that this was the correct play to, you know, get Roshan back? We've mentioned his name a few times now, you know, get Roshan back in, get 5 King in for altering.
Well, there's a phrase that if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but something's broken, so they're just trying anything right now. They got to get in here. 5 King is exclusively a Lucio player. One of the issues that Shanghai has had is that they have mostly Lucio players on support. Altering still trying to find his feet on Mercy. Has been playing pretty decent on it, actually, today. I think his Mercy has improved. They are showing signs of improvement. But, you know, Zushu played a very good tank, but now they want to give Roshan some play. They're just trying stuff, and I admire that they know it's not working. Look, they're not blind to the results that have been on the screen so far, so they're trying things up. It's going to be interesting to see what 5 King plays. 5 King needs to step out of the Lucio role. Lucio's simply not in the meta right now.
That is going to be a bit of a tricky one, especially here on Numbani, which is going to be the last map of this series here between these two teams. Florida Mayhem, however, obviously not going for any roster changes there. Seems like, what do you expect to see out of this roster going into this?
I mean, Florida, they've got a good 76. They've got players who can play Ana, and this is the map to play those two heroes, so that's exactly what we're going to see out of them. For Shanghai, on their offense, one of their difficulties, one of their issues is that they struggle finishing fights even with advantage. And in Numbani especially, I've mentioned that the first point plays a little bit like Assault. You have to have such a good first fight. You have to win it decisively because the respawn advantage for the defense can be brutal. So we'll see if they can have the target calling. I think that that might be the one thing missing, is that they're not finishing the heroes who are discorded and low. They need to finish these kills and move on. It's something that I saw in the Chinese region overall, is they struggle to finish fights that they start. And if Shanghai can get that going, they do have a chance to pick up a map.
This is a bit of a crash course for Shanghai. They're running into some of the very best teams in the world. I mean, the likes of Seoul and the European rosters, even North America right now. Obviously, you know, Houston feeling pretty good about themselves right now. Bit of a pat on the back there for Jake and the lads. But you've mentioned this as well, coming into this map. There is a lot of pressure on the offense because their run back, if they die, their run to that point is so long. And so every fight is crucial. You need to come out ahead. You need to keep your boys alive. And well, we'll see if they're going to be capable of it here. Shanghai Dragons going into the last map, hoping to pick up a map win here versus Florida Mayhem. If it comes down to tiebreakers later on in the season, this map could be crucial. It could be the difference maker.
An interesting composition here is they're going to run a McCree and a Pharah on their DPS. That Pharah can have a lot of space. Undead opens it up and takes down Logix. That is the opening kill they need.
And already, Florida Mayhem, their tanks just trying to create some space here, trying to take attention away from the res that was trying to happen, but not going to be the case, and they will not make it happen. And Undead right now just going off.
This is the Undead that I know and love. He has a god-tier McCree. It just happens to be that they haven't put it all together. This is the kind of performance they need out of their DPS heroes. Undead is unstoppable.
Fantastic work from Undead. That's what you need. You talked about this a little bit as well, where you go back, you know, if it isn't working, just get on heroes that you enjoy. Get on heroes that come naturally to you and that you know that you can perform on. And there we have it, Undead, giving us a bit of a master class. Twix strikes back, finally managing to take the kill on Roshan to start. But you can see Undead is positioning right now. It is on point. They cannot, he is literally on point actually, but I mean, they can't get to him. And so he can just keep plinking shots into him nonstop.
Unfortunate that they lost both of their tanks there, because this is a map where you can get spawn camped very hard. Right out their spawn right now. They're trying to get around this corner. Florida now in a good position on their defense. A creeping Tracer up top with Pulse Bomb is Tvik.
And he's looking for it. Tvik doesn't even need the Pulse Bomb to find the kill on free field. That's a solid start for him. Undead there with the zoning Deadeye though. Just hoping somebody's gonna peek out. And no, what? Doesn't even get the D-Mech. Thought for a second there that he would be ruining Manatin's day at least.
They had to use their Valkyrie, bring 2 back to life, and counter Valkyrie from Zebo's side will bring Zupe back and Swoosh, so now it is even. See what this barrage can get done, not enough. Dia will get 2 there, but Florida still pretty healthy.
But the key is that Zebasai survives, and so the healing output will still be intact here for Florida Mayhem. They can still continue this fight. Tavik decides to give a little bit of ground here, however, not willing to overextend.
So there's one bend you can fight on there, which they just did. You can also fight right around this bus, and even another bend. Second point in Numbani can be difficult if you lose your momentum at any given point. We'll see if Undead can repeat his performance, which got them first point. They will have a Transcend to work with, and Roshan can start knocking people around. So the economy in pretty decent shape for Shanghai.
Solid work there, coming back and trying to put the pressure on Swoosh, but Swoosh doesn't care. In fact, he's just seeing red, leaping left and right. He will be able to get healed up by his teammates, but that's the whole point for him. He is just supposed to be chaos in the back line, and eventually he will fall. Undead picking up the kill with the help of MG. But that's the whole point for Florida Mayhem. They wanted to just fully commit to that fight and take the fight right next to the bus, as you pointed out.
A couple of nice kills here from Shanghai as they continue to push. They will force out the resurrection onto Zube. They bring him back to life because he has Transcend, which he will use immediately onto this point. Dia just waiting it out, trying to find a pulse bomb target.
Florida really committing to this with the support ults. That Transcend is coming through. It's opening up, well, the opportunity here for Logix to find the kill on Dia. Free feel with the DMAC though, and MG hoping to do the same. Not gonna find any frags, however.
5King will get his Valkyrie and immediately popping, even though 3 are down. The best he can do is bring 2 back to life. He does resurrect Roshan into the mix. A counter resurrection, a counter Valkyrie on the other side of things. Later Valks are generally better. Shanghai still trying to bring this back. It is a brawl down there.
Nice peel from Dia though with the pulse bomb on Swoosh. Just keeping Undead alive, and then, oh, there it is, a flashbang to stagger Manitin. And yet still, Florida Mayhem persevere. They are in this fight despite Undead's best efforts. Eventually, Undead gets picked off by Logix, and Florida Mayhem emerge victorious in that skirmish.
They're still trying to figure out the mechanics of Mercy and when to actually use her on the side of Shanghai. 5King, the moment he got Valkyrie, he hit it despite 3 people being dead. Even if you could get to them, you're still going to be in an uneven fight. Zebosai got it later, was able to use his Valkyrie in a more impactful time. That's why Florida was able to hold on that defense.
So now, just shy, over 2 minutes left here for Shanghai Dragons to try and push forward to the second payload. Tavik gets caught, has to back off. Recall used, and so that'll quiet him down for a little bit at least.
He might go around the back. He's just waiting for this pulse bomb. That is a dead Winston immediately. He was dead before he even landed. Good focus fire from Florida.
And the pulse bomb even managing to clip a bit there on MG. MG, he is all, he has to go for the ultimate. But in the meantime, Undead and Dia both doing work on the Florida Mayhem backline.
Absolutely huge that he's able to take out Zebo there. That means there's no mercy in this fight. This should be a one fight for Shanghai, barring a miracle play from Tavik. Not gonna find it. And the good thing for Shanghai is they won that off of one shot. The one shot into Zebosai's head, a critical headshot, able to take him down. Now they have their own Valkyrie. These are the windows that Shanghai needs to exploit. They are 40% above on Valkyrie charge. It might be time to just preemptively pop it and go in. However, you don't really need to right now.
Seems like they want to try and play it patient. This is one of the risks that they're running right now of this cart getting stopped in the arch. That's exactly what Florida wants to try and make happen, but doesn't look like it quite yet. Dia presses forward and he gets the kill. Zebasai is out of the fight. Dia with the big play and the follow-up. That's what we need here for Shanghai to get this W. Okay then, Undead is now showing up to the party as well. Florida wiped off the map.
Absolutely huge. There was almost a turning point where 5King went down holding Valkyrie, but they didn't need it. I said if Shanghai was going to show up, it was going to be their DPS, and it's been Dia and Undead on this last point in Numbani.
Through and through, Roshan backing off. Get a little low on HP, giving his supports time to charge up. 5King still has the Falcon as well. That could make the difference. MG is in a bit of a tight spot, though. They're losing players, but they still have time here, Shanghai. And so this is solid from 5King. Not wasting the Valkyrie this time around, realizing that we still have time to maneuver. Just wait for everybody to respawn and go in together as a unit.
Never has no one to hold him and no one to fold him been more applicable than in Overwatch. Sometimes you lost a fight, don't throw good money after bad. Really smart there to hold on to these ultimates. This is a great self-destruct point. We'll see if MG can find the angle.
In the meantime, Zebo and Zupe both have their ults ready to go, and Logix could try and cancel out 5king with that tactical visor. This is all going to come down to timing here. Who decides to crack first? Who's going to use them first? And already Zebasai, he's managed to use his Valk, but 5king has as well. This is it. Undead, the opportunity, and he gets the key kill. Logix is out of the fight, but he immediately gets res. The only issue here, Logix has already used his tactical visor. There is no ult.
Zebo was able to duck behind Logix to stay out of that fray. Meanwhile, 5king has res Roshan onto the point. They need to get a little more kills. A D-Mac and a deletion from MG onto his counterpart as MG continues to push. They are only meters away from completing the map.
This is the real chance. We're going to have any kind of changes coming in here from Florida, trying to stall things out further. You have Tvik dancing on the point. Need to get in there to tap it, though. Tvik, you have to stay alive. You have to keep challenging, because right now Shanghai are the ones getting the kills. But with that spawn so close, it's allowing for Florida to keep the pressure on.
They don't have Valkyrie. They're getting close to it right now. They are at 72%. A non-Valkyrie Resurrection Undead, who is the gatekeeper here. They're so close to finishing this map. It is just Swoosh. Just kill Swoosh. Oh, no!
But just in the nick of time, 5king picks up his Valk. He gets his teammates back into the fight. At least Roshan will be here. You need that kind of player to do the work. Undead as well, staying alive with the Peacekeeper. He's saying hush, and Florida Mayhem, they may be folding. This is a chance here for Shanghai to get this win.
Self-destruct is coming out. Undead finds himself in that destruct. That might just be the bomb they needed to hold this final point. 0.21 meters away. So close, yet so far away.
And the wick, it burns over, and it will be Florida stopping Shanghai in the end. 2 points picked up for Shanghai out of a possible 3. And now is when we're going to switch sides, and Florida will be the ones passing on to the offense. Still, solid work coming in here for Shanghai. This is better than what we've seen so far this series.
A lot of it was just their DPS play. Dia going off on the Tracer. Undead picking it up as well. And even though 5king had a few blunders here and there on his Valkyrie, after that happened, it seemed like he readjusted. There were times where he could have used the Valkyrie in situations where he did early in the map to bring up 2, but they knew when that fight was lost. You're not going to win every fight in Overwatch. You will lose some fights, people will die, but it's about knowing when to risk the ultimates, when you have advantage in pushing it, and it seemed like they had something figured out there.
Oh, remarkable stuff from Undead, and again, you got to point back to it where, okay, you can try and play the meta, you can try and play the rosters, but really sometimes all it's called for is just playing what you're comfortable with. And get that guy on McCree. Just keep him on McCree. He can be your specialist, because whenever he does seem to show up on McCree, he's just having such an impact.
I want to give MG a ton of credit too. We always look at these self-destructs as the big diva plays, but I like those small diva plays where the Mercy's healing someone and you don't go for the target that the Mercy's healing. You just bypass them with the boost. You take down the Mercy in the backline. He got Zebo a couple times there towards the end, really opened things up for his team. So he's been an unsung hero on this roster, playing on the off-tank role. He had a really good game. Shanghai is definitely showing some signs of life. Win condition, they just have to stop him at any given point.
That's what's the name of the game. And well, Numbani, we have seen it. On the defense teams, they can get that lockdown going on this first point, and that could be what stops Florida cold. Dia will be playing the Junkrat as well, looking to take advantage of the choke points leading on to this point. You just chuck those grenades in, chuck those mines in, you get a clever spot for the trap, and all of a sudden, Florida Mayhem could be down a member or even 2. And so for Florida, Tvik going for the Soldier, but Logic's on the Widow. So 2 heavy-hitting heroes here.
Yeah, we'll see. They've got the distance, but I still like what Shanghai is doing here. It's not a McCree map necessarily, but Undead is his best hero. He's like, I'm running McCree. I clearly were better when I just run McCree, so meta be damned. He's playing his best hero. Roshan down very early, though. That hurts.
That really is painful. It didn't look like any of his healers were there to support him whatsoever. He was just desperate to get out. And now Florida Mayhem with an advantage, and they are already close to picking up a tick on this map. Can they get the contest in? No, Florida actually giving it up. Get back on the point, Florida.
Undead takes Zupe down, but there's an instant resurrection, so he is brought back to life. Florida still just trying to get kills, not necessarily pressuring the point. Now they will touch their toes into the water.
Yeah, they need to stay on it. 2 ticks gained. Undead finally wins the duel versus Tvik. And that is solid. Logic's looking for an angle to try and find a shot. What a shot! The flick and the kill. And he's looking for the follow-up as well. If he can start landing some damage here on the back line, this could be big. Dia right on the edge. And Logic's not quite able to connect.
Someone's got to stay on the point, though. Even while you're pressuring out this Widow, it's great that you're making all this space, but meanwhile, there is still a tank going on the point as Swoosh picks up several kills on his own. No one's going to be there. They will capture first point.
Shanghai not able to stop it, even with forcing the DPS back for the Florida Mayhem. And so we will have the changes coming through here for Florida now that they're starting to progress into the streets portion of this map. Logix, Tvik, both swapping. So we will have that McCree on McCree fight.
The worst part about that fight for Shanghai is they didn't force out any ultimates. You've got Zebo and Zupe both holding on to the huge, impactful support ultimates, and they're pushing so far forward right now. They will even be able to resurrect this should they so need it.
Yeah, so he is going to be out of that fight, Swoosh. But he is Winston. He can get back into it as well fairly quickly thanks to the jump pack. And so Logix decides to back off. Remember, guys, don't get too frag hungry. There is a payload that you need to push. Free feel, however, got to be a volley. Has taken out Tvik.
That's very nice. The reason they push so far forward is Florida is they don't want to get spawn camped on Numbani. They want to get around the bend at least so that they have room to breathe. Now Shanghai's started to win the fight. They're going to transcend and take the fight to Florida.
Yeah, we do see the resurrect. I mean, not the resurrect, but Tvik has respawned. He'll be getting here momentarily, and so that is going to be a little bit of additional pressure here for MG. He is getting nailed. There's the self-destruct, though. Logic's able to get around the corner, and MG this time will not get anything out of his ultimate apart from a new mech, and that wasn't for long either. Now it's Logic's turn, and he drops him. MG is out. And Roshan as well.
Dueling Valkyries, but it is so far Florida getting the better of it. Five King, though, saves his reses for later. Now they have some people up and alive. Logic's being pressured by Winston in the back line. A nice couple taps there. Logix continues to clean up.
You can really see that Logix is starting to come into his own. No pressure on his pack. He's just hitting shot after shot, just straight styling right now. And there it is. Logix, hello. Goodbye. And they are on the edge.
We questioned his poise. Is there a better demonstration of poise than a Primal Rage Winston knocking you about? You ignore him and just single tap a Junkrat outside the door. Logix is definitely stepping up to the plate. Seems like land jitters are gone.
And well, for Shanghai now, this is it. 4.5 minutes. That's how long they have to hold and stop Florida Mayhem from pushing right up to the third point. And already Logic's clever angle here, able to just put some shots through, keeping that pressure on. Shield not going to last too long there for the Winston. And well, there it is, another headshot. When you hear that sound, man, if you're Shanghai Dragons, your heart sinks.
Oh, nice play from Dia, though. Will take down Tvik in the Tracer versus Tracer duel. That will mean a reset from Florida here. This is going to come down to Valkyries yet again. Valkyries and Deadeyes. Deadeye is one of the best ultimates to be able to take down a Flying Mercy, to be able to cut the wings of the moth, as it were. We'll see who can figure it out the best.
Oh, here's the engage. They decided it's time to go. Shanghai just putting it on. And already diving deep, trying to create the space, and they've already used one of their transcendences. This seems to be a bit of a theme here for Shanghai Dragons. Now it's about outlasting it. Undead is gone, but Five King has got his Valk. Still, Five King, there it is, the res on MG. Get that high value target back up into the fight, but no, Zupe is there to get the kill, so the res was for nothing.
They use a self-destruct to try to res it back. That is not a finish. There's the finish from Logix as it takes him two, but it's just fine. Dia now out of this fight. Swoosh opening things up in the back line, and they continue to push 60 meters there, and there's no one out here to contest. Get on the cart.
Oh, just in the nick of time, Dia is there to save it. That gives MG a chance to get into the fight. Roshan as well. He's got the Primal Rage. Point blank fan the hammer, though. Logic's pouring on the damage. Roshan's in a bit of a tight spot. And here's the Deadeye. 2 kills for Logix. This is where it gets out of control. Five King. He will get the res on Undead, trying to keep him in the fight. And yet there's the self-destruct. MG just crouching, but that's going to open. What? Tvik gets caught by MG. Still, it is going to be Florida Mayhem. In the end, picking up the third point and a 4-0 victory over Shanghai.
We talked so much about Shanghai having to win this. Let's take a look at the boys in Florida. They needed this win just as bad. Not only is it a victory, it is a statement victory at 4-0. Logix played well. Tvik is old consistent, as we always expect from him. Florida will put their first win in the Overwatch League on the board. I think, though, even if you're a fan of Shanghai, you saw some improvement today, and that's all you can really ask for. I think they need to start playing more double hit scan. Forget the meta, play your McCree. Undy's got a great McCree. Diaz getting used to Tracer. I think the most important thing is we saw a lot of improvement from their Mercy play, and right now you have to have a good Mercy to win in the Overwatch League.
Exactly right. Somebody get Swoosh his teriyaki jerky. He deserved it today. They go home with a win here, Mayhem. That is big for them, bit of a confidence boost. But you're right, it was a pleasure to watch Shanghai because you do start to see a bit of the pieces of the puzzle start to come together there for them, getting a bit tighter on the comms, getting a bit better at the ult management. And so that will be it for this series. We still have one more coming up after the break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP and by Intel.
Welcome back. This is Zoe, and I'm now joined by Swoosh. Give it up for the Florida Mayhem. Finally getting their first victory on this very stage. Now I gotta ask, despite having a slow start, your team seems to always take to the stage with a, you know, spring in your step and a swag in your hips. How do you stay so positive?
I mean, you just gotta have to, right? If you stay positive, everything is possible. Just keep going. Just bring the fun to the stage and bring the fun to the game, and just look forward all the time. And if you just get depressed, it's not gonna help. Just keep it fun, keep it lighthearted, and it's all good.
Right, life lessons by Swoosh, everyone. Please give it up once more. And I'll take a page out of that book. And it is fun to see you guys going onto that stage, honestly. I can't wait to see what you guys have in store for us next week. Now, looking at next week and your preparation going into week 3, how much time will you guys be spending on scrims? How much time will be spent on VOD reviews? And how much time are you actually going to spend on walking choreographies?
Walking choreographies, I think that's something we just come up with on the fly. But VODs and scrims is we always go equally as long time. It doesn't matter what game it is or what match it is. We try to keep it consistent, and we just try to improve every single time. We're just gonna keep the same schedule and keep going hard and prepare for our next game.
All right. Now, of course, one last question. How do you feel about your opponents next week? Outlaws?
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, it's gonna be a good game for sure.
You nailed it! You nailed it! Thank you so much, Swoosh. Sorry for putting you on the spot. Can't wait to see you guys again next week. Thank you so much. Once more, congratulations. We're now gonna break down the game on our wonderful desk.
Thank you so much, Zoe. Thank you so much, Swoosh. It looked like we had Tracer standing next to Winston in human form. That was fantastic up there on the stage. Let's break down the action here at the desk. I'm Puckett. This is Reinforce. That Sideshow, and we got a lot to get through, so let's start here with our control map. Sideshow, coming into this one, we actually had our master electrician come up to me. It's Ben, and he said, why are both teams running the same heroes on both stages of this map? Can you kind of break that down for some of the newer fans at home?
Well, Ilios is kind of a unique map in that Widowmaker has a huge amount of sightlines for this stage on Ruins, and Tracer is very good at being able to win the ground war with the other 5 players once the room is given by a Widowmaker pick occasionally. So we do see more stuff like the Pharahs coming out from some teams, and there is opportunity to switch it up, but both of these two teams in general are very good at the double hit scan kind of approach.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about Tracer not being as relevant this meta. You don't see that the Tracers get as many picks, but still the damage output overall, I mean, if you hit up a D.Va or a Winston, the damage output is just too much to negate. So you still need a Tracer in this meta, despite not getting as many game-winning picks this meta.
The Tracer switched out to a McCree for the second stage there, and even though they were running identical comps, it was Florida walking away with the victory. What was the biggest difference in their gameplay?
Well, it was Logix, of course. He started to pop off on the stage, and as we mentioned before, Logix hasn't really been in the zone when he's been playing on a stage before. You know, maybe a bit nervous on the stage, of course. But now, finally, after a couple of weeks on the Overwatch League, he started to pop off and bring his game. And that's what the Florida Mayhem has thrived on before.
You need Logix to go off if you're the Florida Mayhem, and he continued to pop off in our 4th game of Numbani. But we also saw a strong resurgence from the Shanghai Dragon squad. This may be the best attack we have seen from them. And Sideshow, as we take a look at some of these highlights, who were the players really standing out for the squad?
There were definitely 2 big players, I thought. That MG had a much improved performance over what we saw from him in previous games for Shanghai Dragons. And this tank synergy was massively improved. That gave so much more room for Undead to come out with his stellar McCree play. And so this is the kind of synergy that we want to see from the Shanghai Dragons moving forwards. I think this was easily the best map that they've played so far this season. They look like they have structure. They look like they know what they want to do on certain pushes. I was impressed by them.
Yes, and as I said in halftime, right? If you're Shanghai Dragons, you need to find your niche, what you feel comfortable playing. And with Undead on the McCree, it certainly felt like he was a lot more comfortable, and MG managed to peel well with the defense matrix. So this is something they can build off and maybe snatch a win in the future.
And we did want to follow up on these improvements we're seeing from the Shanghai Dragons with the quick illustration. This is Sideshow breaking down their attack.
Yeah, I've got a replay here, and I'll start it pausing the mini-map point of view. And the first thing to note is Dia. He's got a rocket sent towards these lovely 3 guys over on the Florida Mayhem, and it is about to do huge damage. So this sets up the play, the fact that they're running McCree, Pharah, as you were saying, Reinforced, playing their niche. And so as we start to roll this forward, you can see that does huge damage, knocks both the supports off, and Undead is able to get the pick here over onto Logix. I'm going to pause once again and show what happens with the tanks here, because now that they've got the pick on Logix, they can start to move up around this left-hand side, and you'll see that, in fact, for the Florida Mayhem, Tvik is going to try and save this with a combined dive onto Freefeel here. Freefeel is their target to try and recover this fight. And as we play this forwards, you'll see that MG has an excellent read of the situation and reacts accordingly. So as we play this one forwards, you'll see Freefeel start to back off, and Tvik and Swoosh feel like they have a bit of an opportunity to sandwich him. Swoosh goes for the dive. Instantly, MG reacts. They peel really well for their backline here. Freefeel stays alive. MG is able to, oh, well, it's actually Undead that gets the pick, but with combined damage from everybody, they get the pick onto Manitin, who is trying to help out in that dive. This is textbook play of how you want to run these kind of setups on Numbani, where as soon as somebody dives into you, instantly your team is there to support them. And I did a telestrator yesterday when we watched, or 2 days ago when we watched the Shanghai Dragons, and there was none of this synergy. So already we can see these kind of improvements, particularly from MG here.
And also Roshan helping out on the Winston, of course. We saw them swap in Roshan, and he kept diving pretty deep. But occasionally you saw him peel with MG on the Diva, of course, and that's what you need. You need the coordination. So I think this peeling strategy will work out much better for the Shanghai Dragons.
Shanghai is slowly improving, but the team that walks away with the win is our Florida Mayhem. And of course, that's a player from our team that we chose our player of the match from. This, of course, is sponsored by Omen by HP. We had to go with Logix here, and it all started with this pulse bomb that caught our eyes.
It's just so magical, isn't it? Look at that. Fantastic play from Logix. But all throughout this match, honestly, the guy had a stellar performance, coming up with this Tracer performance that we have only just started to see from Logix, but it's what he's known for, and he's also been playing a plethora of heroes like Widowmaker and fantastic McCree at the end. Yeah. This was his match.
Okay, so we talked about Undead popping off on the McCree on Numbani, but look at this stat. Okay, so Undead had 11,000 damage on Numbani on the McCree per 10 minutes. Logix had 19,000, almost double the damage of Undead, almost 2,000 damage per minute. So, I mean, Logix, he just popped off in the end, and this is what you need.
And talking to our stats wizard, Captain Planet is in the control room. He was saying that you saw a fantastic performance from Logix, specifically on the McCree. 21 final blows was double, with half the time played on the same hero as Undead. So fantastic performance from Logix. He is our player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. And that is the first big win for the Florida Mayhem. We're down with our first two matches, but we saved the big one for last. After the break, we're closing out the night with a bang. It's the unbeaten London Spitfire taking on the Dallas Fuel. We'll see you in a moment.
不是说那个闪光是个保镖吗？